But I am not taking my own advice,
Right.
And so I'm human before I'm anything. And my therapist is life. I'm just like, she points out all the things that I didn't know was my issue. I'm like, but it's them. But it has helped me so much with things that I wouldn't even realize I needed to work on. So I think it's invaluable.
And I love that you just said that. I wrote it down too, so I'm gonna quote you later.
Okay, what did I say?
I love that you said, like, I'm human before anything. So
Absolutely.
not even in this mental health space, but just in life in general. Sometimes I feel like, especially as Black women, like the weight of the world has always been on our shoulders.
Yes.
Like we were brought over to this country to be the workhorses here. So we still operate in that space. And I think sometimes we forget when we have a bad day, when we're not feeling our best, when we're, you know what I'm saying, when we're just not feeling like we can go out and conquer everything. Like we forget, like we're human before anything. Like, let's not forget that. And I feel like sometimes we need to extend ourselves a little bit of grace. We need to be a friend to ourselves. Shout out to my first therapist. Be a friend to yourself. It's the first lesson I ever got in therapy. Be a friend to yourself. But we are human before we are anything else. And sometimes I think we forget that. So I love that you said that.
Yeah. I just want quick story, right? Like it took me till I was like in my early 30s to realize that we are human first. Because, and I'm not gonna say I didn't grow up in the church house where they browbeat you with certain ideologies and stuff like that, but it was definitely instilled, right? Yeah. So in my mind, I was following those things like to the letter, as far as as much as possible, that I could, and all the rest of that. And then things happened. Right, and then life happened, and life kept smacking me, and I was like, okay, I'm supposed to do this, and I'm supposed to remain this way, I'm supposed to pray it, and not all the rest of this, and I'm supposed to just do the things that the church house told me to do. And at some point I was just like, F it, I'm just gonna be human. Like, I'm not even gonna try to be Christian no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not even gonna try to like do the part or play the role. I ain't gonna say play the role because I was literally living it, but you know what I mean? Like, just, I was like, no, it's kind of, this sucks. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't get to get back. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I'm ready to get back, and I'm about to get back. So, but then I met Dr. Gaynor.
She out here getting lives together out here.
And this is the funny part. I had been to it like 2 therapists who kept just trying to push pills at me, like not discuss what was really happening with me or going on with me. Just, you want some pills? You want some pills? You need some pills? I give you some pills. I was like, I don't want no pills. Like, I just want to talk about like the stuff that's on my chest that I feel like I'm not being heard.
Feelings?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then so finally, and I still say it wasn't nothing but God. I went to was the Boss Up Women's Conference, and this woman walked into the room like, oh, and started talking. I was like, I felt like I was in church. I ain't never been one of the people in church that throw hands, do all that. I was in there like, child.
That's Black church. Black church is too much for me. I can't with Black church.
I literally went up to her at the end of it and said, can I come lay on your couch? She said, I'm in Atlanta because the conference is in Chicago. She said, I'm in Atlanta. I said, I can fly. It's okay. But I feel like that was an awakening for me. Like, that at that moment, that day, it was like, oh my God. Like, and then to like we continue to say, to see somebody in my skin tone, right? And my, this woman who is like making perfect sense, like, and who understands like the culture. It was definitely a game changer, which is why in my mind, you will always and forever be Superwoman. Cause I'm like, all the people in the room, when I tell you that lady, I don't even know the lady that was sitting next to me, child, she was kicking me under the table. She's like, girl, I'm like, this is woo. But anyway, I went, and I really want to find video of that particular conference. But I mean, I'm just saying, y'all, we're gonna make sure we drop your information for speaking engagements.
Yes, ma'am.
in the description here. But I just want to pivot really quick because speaking of faith, speaking of all that. We all know there's a certain couple of situations going on. We're not going to mention exactly what those situations are in the media at this present moment. However, there are quite a few faith-based leaders, right, that are cutting up right now.
I'm gonna go ahead and sit down. Go ahead,
but no, and I'm saying that not because of the artist, but because of the whole, just a religion itself, right? Mm-hmm. Just because, and somebody said something to me the other day that really hit home to me, and they was like, you know, everybody talks about, well, I understand it because I'm Kojic. I understand it because I'm apostolic. I understand it because I'm, you know, this, right? Insert the denomination here. And it's like, what people tend to forget is denominations is literally division. I was like,
that face, LC.
You know, I be trying to keep it together.
I said, oh shoot, like I never even thought of it that way. You know what I mean? Like it's literally division. Like, so you're saying because these different factions, right, separated, did these, you know, made up their rules, right? And all the rest of that, you start following this. Now mine is wrong because you think yours is right, and all the rest of that, when we're really supposed to be all under the same book, right?
Correct.
So they say.
Yeah. And so I just, and in that vein, I just think with you, Dr. Gaynor, how have you brought your faith into your practice, if you have at all?
I think I learned a long time ago. Let me go back. There was a time when I really got serious about my faith. I was like this. I was telling everybody what they needed to do. I remember one time I was telling my mother something, and she was like, "Girl, I knew Jesus way before you was like, I was like, oh, okay." So I think that a lot of times it's necessary to have that time so that you can get focused, but then you have to become human again, right? So I kind of became human again. And I realized that I think I put a lot of pressure on myself. I remember with different friends, and I felt like I had to bring them in and, you know, tell them, look, I'm the assistant Christ and all of that. And, and I look back now and I'm so irritated with myself. Like, no, that was way too much. Not that you shouldn't talk to people and correct them, but I think what I've realized is I've taken the pressure off. So I felt like the need to say certain things. Maybe I need to change your mind. I need to convince you. And it's funny because I was just having a thought about an hour ago that it's not my job to convince you of anything. It's just my job to shine my light. And so with that being said, faith will come in if the client brings it up. I'm not going to force it on you. But what I've come to realize is when you're a person of faith, it's just who you are. So even if people don't believe in God, people have a feeling of peace. People feel like you listen to them. People feel understood. All of that is God. And so I think it's just about being who you are and taking the pressure off. Because what I also had to realize is I am not the Holy Spirit. I'm trying to do too much.
Right.
You're like, and let God be God. Because I'm not even, me trying to do that job, I'm not even closely good at it. So I think it's just about being yourself, and who you are. If you are connected with God is a reflection, and that's it. So taking the pressure off, I think, has been really good for me, because when we had more people in the office, people would say things like, oh, they feel peace. Oh, they feel that they were helped. All those things made me go, okay, you know, if I can say encouraging words, all of that. Exactly. So it's just who I am. And I think realizing that has helped take the pressure off of me feeling like I needed to say the right thing. Like I had I was praying with my uncle who's sick and my cousin. And I remember thinking, okay, what's the scripture? Let me try to say this wonderful prayer. Couldn't think of nothing. But I knew that was very purposeful, because I needed for that moment to pray like a regular person and know that you can just say regular words, and that was all it was. So just taking the pressure off, I think, is really important. And that's what I do. Now, if you bring up God, we can talk about it, but it's still there, whether we mention it or not. So
look at,
and it's like, that's like a great reference, because like in my therapy journey, that's one of the things that I've learned to do, like outside of religion. I don't consider myself like a religious person. Like I'm more spiritual. Like I have
What's
friends.
the difference?
I don't practice any one religion. Like I feel like there's beauty in all of the religions. Like
I mean, Buddha's sitting right behind
exactly.
us, so.
So perfect example. One of my really, really good friends is he practices Sikhism, so he's a Sikh. And one of their foundational beliefs is that whatever you do, be good at it. So if you're going to be a Christian, be a good Christian. If you're going to be a Muslim, be a good Muslim. If you're going to be a Hindu, be a good, you know what I'm saying? So on and so forth. And so just be good and not do it well, but be good to the core of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the things that I kind of live by. But before Sabrina got on me about what's the difference between, because that is a conversation that I have with lots of people. It's like, well, what's the difference between being religious and spiritual?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like religion gives you like a set of rules that you need to operate by. And it's like a really strict and kind of rigid way of practicing the same thing that we're all, I guess, believing in. Like I believe in God, but I don't follow any particular guidelines in the way that I connect with God is kind of what I mean by that. But taking the pressure off is what you have mentioned as far as religion. That applies to so many different areas of my life personally. And that was one of the things that I had to work on in therapy is like, this is supposed to be like this. I'm supposed to do this and I'm supposed to say this and I'm supposed to do this and da 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 da. And my current therapist was like, well, what is supposed to? Elsie, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. And then that's like for me, taking that pressure off of what supposed to is, it like completely set me free from any expectations or any, like, you know what I mean, any outside expectations that I have put on myself. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Which brings me back to something you said earlier about the culture, right? Resiliency and that type of thing, right? You said it's taught, correct?
I'm saying it can be developed. I think
it can be developed.
The ability to kind of go through hard things and overcome. Well, it depends on a lot of different things, but it can be developed through your social relationships, through building self-esteem, through having goals in terms of education and advancement, through your spirituality.